So hello all and welcome to this session, and in this particular sessions we are going to see how to set up a Ansible environment, and we will integrate with the Docker host as well. So in the previous session you have seen that we have a Jenkins server and Docker host. Both of the are running on different EC2 instance, and both are currently stopped. I drafted architecture as well, so to have a better understanding. So these are the people who frequently push and pull the code for all the changes and to work on the development. So whenever there is a update, Jenkins will move the artifacts to the Docker container, and after that it's also create an image, and from the image the Docker containers created. But the problem with the Jenkins is good for the CI part, not for the CD, because if suppose we have 100 number of Docker hosts, so we have to integrate each of the server with the Jenkins. And one more things that we have seen in the part 9 of the video, where I demonstrated you that when you try to do a update again, so in that case the Jenkins will use to create a same images, and it's throw an error because the images already exist. So you can do it by removing the image before building it. But what happens when you are doing this at first time? At that time also it will throw error, because at that time the image not exist in the environment. So this is the wrong approach. We will bringing Ansible into the picture, which is good for the deployment part. So we are using Jenkins for the CI and the Ansible as the CD part. Deployment or delivery, whatever you can say. So the Jenkins will do create a Docker images, and Jenkins is very good in all those stuff. It will push the images to the Docker hub and keep on deleting or keep on maintaining the history also by providing the tags. And after that it will create a Docker container, and it have the flexibility. It can handle 100 numbers of systems, 100 number of Docker hosts at the same time. So Ansible is very good in that, and we will write some playbook when we are dealing those stuffs. So in this particular video we are going to set up Ansible in a separate EC2 machine, and then we are going to integrate it with the Docker host. So you can say this is not a simple steps that we are going to follow for this video. A little bit you can say that we have to create users, Ansible admin users, and at the both the level Ansible also, and the on the Ansible server also, and on the Docker host also. So we have to start, because Jenkins in this particular video we are not going to use Jenkins. The main target is to for the Docker host and the Ansible. So we are going to start this instance, and meanwhile it's starting, we are going to launch a new EC2 instance to do the setup for the Ansible as well. So we are launching a new instance. Okay, we are using the same Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Select it. Okay, let's move to the configure instance details, and don't have to change anything here. The add storage is nothing to be changed, but we will definitely put some tag to identify it is a Ansible server. So adding tag name, it will be, you can say, Ansible server, just to identify it. It's a good way to always tag the instance. For the configuration setup, we are going to use the existing one for the Jenkins, no problem. Review and launch. You can review all the settings, it looks fine. Launch. We are using the same. If you don't have the key pair, you can create by clicking on this particular selections, create a new key pair. I already have it, so I'm using. Okay, perfect. Okay, so Docker host is currently running. So I'm going to connect with the Docker host also, and Ansible, when it gets started, we will fetch the public IP. And both of the system, both of the machines, all the machines you can say running on the same VPC. So for the connections purpose, we are using the private IP. So Ansible is currently running. Okay, just fetch the public IP for the this particular we have done the networking part. Okay, the networking public IP, we copied it for the Docker host, and here we are going to SSH, just paste it. In the advanced SSH settings, use the private PAM key. Okay, and the specify username is EC2 user. Okay, perfect. So we have the connection established. Let's increase the font, but let me do a sudo su. Just to go to the root, and host name I'm going to provide it as a Docker host, just to identify that it is a host. Okay, so the IP, this particular IP will get changed with the name Docker host, so that we can identify this is the Ansible machine and this is the Docker machine. Okay, sudo su. So you can see that it's get changed with the host. Now if you don't hear the Docker ps command, so it will not allow, because the service is currently stopped, because my instance is already stopped. That's why the service is all automatically get stopped. You have just restart it. Service Docker start. Okay, so you can verify it by running the status. Fine. So this is running. Clear the screen. So this is the Docker host. Now I have to connect with the Ansible to do all the setups. So I'm just moving to check the IP of the Ansible machine. Here it is. Okay, deselect it, select it, and in the networking, I have the public IP. I'm going to connect it. New session, paste it, advance, use the pen. Okay, let's specify the same EC2 user. Perfect. So it's also get connected, and let's me increase the font size to have a better clarity. Okay, so we are currently doing deploying the Ansible. So because we have seen that there is some limitations with the Jenkins, so we are going to use the Ansible as a deployment tools instead of Jenkins. Jenkins we will use for the integrations part. So currently we have a machine in which we have to set the environment for the Ansible. So we created a new EC2 instance and name it as a Ansible server. This is perfectly fine. We connected to the machines, and now we are going to use sudo su. You can change the host name also. Host name Ansible server. Sudo su to make it effective. So we have, this is the Ansible server and this is the Docker host. So you have the better clarity that you don't need to refer all the times which IP we are using for which server. So it's clear from this that we are using the Ansible. Let's clear this. We are currently in the Ansible server. Perfect. So now we are going to install the Pythons, because for the Ansible, the Python is required. So we are going to install it. But let me tell you that I think it's already installed in this machine. Let me. You can check it by running the version also, but better you can just run the command. Okay, so it's saying that it's already installed and nothing to do. It's currently have the latest version. You can check it as well. Python. Okay, some of the system don't have the Python already installed, so better to have installed. If it already installed, it will give you the message that you have to update, or if you have the latest one, then the message will appear as nothing to do. You have the latest one, and you can verify the version as well in this way. Okay, so now I'm going to install the Python pip install Python pip. The install Python pip. Okay, I written the wrong command here. The pip, sorry, yum. We have to use yum install Python pip. That was my mistake. It's a slow little bit. That's why it's not appearing. So you can see that it's starting installing the pip. And now I'm going to install the Ansible. So the command for that is pip. It will start with the pip install Ansible. So you can see that it's starting downloading all the artifacts to do installations, and it's depend upon your internet speed as well, because sometimes it takes 1 minute time or sometimes more than that. So it's completely depends on your internet connectivity. It will download all the digit files and then unzip it and then do the installations and move the artifacts into the proper directory. So you can see that the Ansible is currently set up. Now we can verify it by running to check the version. Okay, so we have the proper informations regarding all the configurations, but you can identify here that the configuration file is none, because this is the latest one, and they not in the latest version. Actually, it's not have the Ansible directory. So by default, for the previous version is it's kept in the etc Ansible.c fg file. So we have to create a new directory for Ansible. So I'm going to clear the screen. Okay, so we will create a new directory inside etc Ansible. Okay, so directory is created and we have to create a new user. So we will create a new user called ANS admin. So user add ANS admin. Okay, password ANS admin. We have to change it with the other password. Okay, the password is now set properly. Now you have to add this user to sudo files, and for this we are going to use the vi sudo sudo, sorry. Okay, so you can open this particular file, and you can press the shift G to go to the end of the file, shift G. Okay, and here you have the settings already present, so you don't have to change. Sometimes it's not present for the older version, so you have to just add this particular line here, but it's already available, so I'm not going to change anything here. For the to do any update, you can press O in this particular editor. So when you press O, it will go into the edit mode and you can just write all the things here. But it's already there, so I'm not going to change it. I'm coming back from this particular things. Okay, so now we should install Docker as well, because if we want to deploy on Docker server, we need to create a Docker images. So the Docker installations is required on the Ansible server as well. So let's install the Docker on the Ansible. The command will be yum install Docker. This is the same setup that we already did for the Docker host. It will not take much time. It will be fast. Okay, it's done. So now you have to check the services. Services is not started yet. You can start the service. Now you can check the status. So it's in the running state. Just clear the screen. Perfect. So now the Ansible is already installed. We did it, and installed the Docker as well and restarted the Docker services. Now we should add the ANS admin that we created the user to Docker group. For that, user mod a capital G. This is to add into the group. The group name is Docker and the user name is ANS admin, because this is a user which will interact with the Docker host. So as you know that the user authentications is not enabled by default in the Ec2 instance, and we already seen these things in the when we created a Docker host. By default for the Ec2 instance, this particular the password authentication stage is disabled. So we have to modify the SSH config file the same way we already did for the Docker host. So I'm going to edit that file. SSH SSHD config. So you can search by writing the password and press enter. So it will bring you to that particular line. Password authentications is currently no. So we press the I to go to the insert. I already did it and it's not responding me. Okay, yes. Now I'm going to save it. Okay, the password authentications things has been done. From we changed it from no to yes. Now it's enables, but be very careful when you do changes in this particular config file. You have to reload the SSHD services. This is very important thing. Otherwise, things will not work. So service SSHD reload, and we already did all these things when we created our Docker environment. Those similar steps we are following here as well. Okay, perfectly, it's fine. So now we need to generate a key, the public key and private key, and we will share the public key to the Docker host for the ANS admin users. Before creating the key, we will have to switch to the ANS admin account, because we are going to generate the key for the ANS admin. So we have to write some command like su. This is to change to the ANS admin user. You will see that changes will reflect here. So you can see that now the Ansible server is not running by the root; it's running by the ANS admin account. So it's already changed. Now we are going to generate the SSH key. keychain. This is the command to generate the keys. Okay, so it will create a key. Usually it get created in the .ssh folder, and we will look into this after running this command. So I created, just pressed enter here. Okay, so it's perfectly fine. Now clear the screen. Okay, ls la to see all the available directives, and you can see that the SSH is already there. So cd into the .ssh. So here you will find two keys. One is the public key, this one with the .pub extension, and one is the ID underscore RSA. So ID underscore RSA is the private key, and you will not going to share with anyone. This is the private key. If you will leak this key, then anybody that have the private key will able to access your system. This is a very important thing that you need to understand. Only the public key you are going to share, not the private key. So why we are creating the keys? To just interact, to build connections with the Docker host, and for this we required a user. That's why we created a user, and this particular public key we are going to share to the Docker host, and so that we have the integration things. Now we have the setup for the Ansible, but we are executing the steps to have interactions, the connectivity between the Docker host and Ansible, so that the Ansible will, whenever the Jenkins start building and it will move the artifacts, then it will create an image. The Ansible system will create the image, and you will see in the next video that Ansible playbook we will write some commands that will push the images to the Docker hub. And then after 3 or 4 sessions, the Kubernetes will come into the picture and do all the stuff, because Docker is only for the building the container. It's not a orchestrations tools. The orchestrations tools is the Kubernetes. That's why the Kubernetes is in demand nowadays, because it handles several pods at a time and managed, and there is a replica set, there is a deployment. So if you want to learn anything about that, the Kubernetes, I already keep on adding some Kubernetes topics also, and I have one playlist for the CK certification exam that have the real scenario questions, and in which I also providing the labs. If you want to if you're going to appear for the CK exam, it's better to have a look on those video as well. So this is the two keys that I created. One is the private, and one is the other one is the public key. And you don't have to share the private key. You only allow to share the public key. Otherwise, your system will be on risk. Now I'm going back. Okay. So all the things are set now. We are exiting from this user account. Now we are in the root for the Ansible server. Okay, so we already have the Ansible server, and here we have the Docker host. Okay, so now we are we did all the things for the Ansible. Now I am going to Docker host. Here we will also create users, the same users, ANS admin, and then we will set the password as well for the authentications. And when we are doing the setting, when we are creating the environment for the Docker host, at that time we already enable the password authentication, so we don't have to do anything for this particular setup. It's already been done. So I'm going to create a user. Similar user. Okay, the password. Okay, and the new password. Okay, so it's already successfully updated the password. And now we have to copy the key. So we have to, so that it's we have to perform these steps by ANS admin user, and we, for this we have to go to the Ansible machines, and there we will execute these steps, like we are copying, because we are running in the same machines. So first we have to take the IP of this machine, and this particular IP, and we required it very frequently because we have to build a connection. So I'm jumping to the Ansible server, and here we will move to the ANS admin user account again. Okay, perfect. So I'm executing the command to just copy the SSH, the particular public key. ID, ANS, name of the user, and here we are going to provide the IP. So this is this one. This is the private IP because we are currently in the same VPC. Okay, this is the private IP of the Docker host. So private key, because they are in the same actually VPCs, and so that they can communicate easily. Uh, so I will put here yes. Okay, the password. So you can see that currently I am in this particular machine here, and it's connected. It's added that particular key here. So this is the one time it will ask you to provide the ANS admin user. So it added the added the keys for the. So now we can SSH. So you can see that currently I'm in the Ansible, but when I SSH that particular machine with the admin ANS admin users, and now it's we have the connectivity with the Docker host. So we have established the connectivity between the Ansible to the Docker host. So this is the first steps that verify that connectivity has been established, but there is some steps left that we have to execute. So now you can see that you jumped from the Ansible to the Docker host. This thing is perfectly fine, and this is the things that we are going to achieve here. Now I am exiting it, so you can see that the connections is closed, and now I am back to the Ansible server. So this is the Ansible machine, and this is the Docker host. So till now all the things looks good. Now we need to test the connectivity by doing the ping test for this, because this is required to do the ping test also, so that we are completely sure that there is a integration between the Ansible and the Docker host, and there is a strong integration, so that whenever the Ansible want to create an image, and the Docker host will allow to do it by using the ANS admin user. To check the ping request, we created a new file called host, and where we provided the private IP of the Docker and Docker host and the local host as well. So you can check it by exiting the command. So currently I'm in the root pwd. I'm in the, so here we have the host file that we created. Okay, so this is the IP that we provided is for the Docker host. This is the private IP because they are in the same VPC, virtual private cloud network, and the local host. Okay, so let's come out from here, and we again go to use the Ansible account, ANS admin. Okay, so now we are going to check the ping. So here we are going to execute Ansible all am nothing but the modules. There is a module called ping. So we are going to use ping, and you can able to ping to the remote system for the local. It's not because we don't have added the keys yet. So you can see that when we execute this particular thing, the local host fails because we have to add the key for the local system also, because we already added the key for the remote, the target machine, that is the Docker host. We already, so it's success. So now we are going to clean this. Okay, and now we are going to add it for the local as well. So SSH copy ID local host. So when we execute the same command again, the Ansible amping, so this time it will successful. So you can see that now the connections, we integrated the Docker with the Ansible, or the vice versa. Ansible is also integrated with the Docker. So it's complete our Ansible system setup. Ansible are now able to talk with the Docker host. So we already seen that we already shared our public key. So for the local host also, for the Docker also, and it's we are getting now the successful result. Previously we have a problem with that local host, so we added the keys for the local host as well. So in the next video we will integrate an Ansible with the Jenkins. Now the Jenkins will also get integrated with the Ansible, so that all the systems will work together in a full fashion. So that whenever there is a build at the Jenkins end, it able to copy the Ansible systems, the artifacts to the Ansible, and convert that WAR file to the Docker images. With the Docker images, it able to create a Docker container on the Docker host. That is the target machines. So hope you like my this video for the Ansible. So there are many videos in the pipeline for the Ansible, and then the Kubernetes will come into the picture. So if you guys like my video, please subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends as well, and do comment also when if you have any difficulties, and I will try to respond as I am doing as of now. So every message I responded for my videos, whichever I comments I received on the videos. So please keep learning and be safe. Have a nice day. Thank you.